All right, hello YouTube. This is Tranquil Warfare back. I did mention before that on my last video that I just uploaded, I think yesterday, that was an old update from November of last year in 2015. Current date is 420, happy 420. And I want to give you guys an update. I'll try to make this video pretty quick. But as you can see, there's some changes to my tank, both in livestock as well as in equipment. So actually wanted to go ahead and start with the sump, and I'll show you that in a second. But I was working on my sump last week, and I was trying to move some things around, create some more space underneath my tank so I can get a little bit more organized under there. As I mentioned in my last video, definitely getting back into the hobby more seriously, as you can tell from the difference between the tank now and what it was on the last video. So as I was moving stuff around, I heard a crack, and unfortunately that crack was my sump cracking and then starting a water leak. So I went into critical mode. That was in the evening, and I had to then drain my sump and then obviously leave the tank without having any circulating water as far as filtration is concerned overnight, and the next day run out and buy all new stuff. So since I had to buy a new sump, I kind of went a little crazy. So let's go ahead and without further ado take a look. So this is going to be a little hard to see, and I apologize. There you go, that's better. But this is a Tsunami Sump. You know, the only better thing I could have done was get a sump refugium, but in doing my measurements I realized I didn't have a lot of space down here. The stand that this tank has, that was made by the previous owner, he really cut down the dimensions that I could use on the in here because of the extra supports that he added in there. So I really only had about a 30 by 14 space in here for the sump. So this is a Tsunami Sump. It has two filter socks. I have the drain coming down. It's here towards the back end side. It's going down, and then the water has to filter up and then come in through these two filter socks. Cool thing about it is I added a PVC pipe there where the drain is to make it super quiet. So then I have it coming into these two filter socks, and then here, brand new skimmer. This is the Reef Octopus 150 Classic. It is rated for, I think, 200 to 220 gallons. I could be mistaken, but somewhere around there. And after that, after the sump, you have another section here after this baffle. My water level is a little high right now. My wife added water. I don't have an auto top off, and she added a little bit too much water because this section here is actually supposed to be lower. As the water comes through, filters down. Underneath this sponge here, I have 2 bags of ChemiPure Elite, and then so it filters through this section, through the ChemiPure Elite, and then to the return pump. I still have my 2 little fishies running Phosguard, so I know that ChemiPure Elite does have some GFO in there, which also help with phosphates. But so I have the Phosguard running with the ChemiPure Elite. My phosphates, my nitrates were 0. My phosphates were a little above that, so they I didn't think running Phosguard plus ChemiPure Elite was going to be too much of an issue. Been monitoring my corals and making sure that they look good, and so far they're reacting well. Bought a brand new return pump. It is the Triton 4 right there, so rated at 1,050 gallons per hour. I had that going for a while just by itself, and then I started getting some serious gargling and suction action from my return in my overflow box. So I had to add this here. I bought this a couple days ago. As you can see, there's a little small water leak in there from this connection here. It's a drip, but it's dripping right into the sump, so I'm not too worried about it. I'll get in there when I do my next water change and probably add some PVC glue or something just to seal that up. But I've got the pump closed off ever so slightly, and that took away all the gurgling. So essentially the return pump was setting more water up than the drain could keep up with. So I dialed that down. So this is my sump now. It's a big difference from what I had before. I'm super excited about the skimmer. It's still in break-in mode. As you can see, even in breaking mode, it's collecting some skin mate here. And break-in mode, essentially what Reef Octopus suggests that you do is that you run the dial here all the way open. So it's the lowest setting essentially, so that it can break in. And as you can see, the neck is starting to fill up with gunk. And after a couple of weeks, they recommend at that point you start dialing it in to get the skin mate that you want. But even in the lowest setting, it's still producing skin mate. So awesome skimmer, especially considering the last skimmer that I had. It was a Sea Life Systems skimmer, and the sump was actually a converted wet dry. It was a Sea Life Systems wet dry that was converted into a sump. And none of that really worked too greatly. And I've always known I needed to upgrade this down here, so a little crack in the old sump led me to just doing a complete upgrade down here in my sump. So I'm really excited about what that'll mean for my main display, which is right here. So livestock, let's talk about the fish real quick. I have a lot of my original fish. I still have my two clowns, my two tubercular clowns from 4 years ago. I still have my blue hippo tang from 4 years ago. Still have my yellow tang from 4 years ago. The same with that pajama cardinal. He's about 4 years old. Same with the royal grandma right there hanging out. He's about 4 years old. I lost some fish. So I mentioned that in the last video about losing my powder blue tang. That was one of my favorite fish. That was definitely a sad day. I lost my lone blue chromie. Actually never even noticed or saw him floating. He just kind of disappeared. So I'm assuming the crabs might have got to him. And then I even had another fish that I had recently gotten. I know the tang police are gonna probably chime in here with regards to not having too many tangs in the tank. But I had one more tang. So as you can see now, I have the blue hippo, I have the yellow, I have the sailfin, which is a recent addition. But I also had a very tiny naso tang, a small baby naso. I've always loved naso tangs as well as sailfins. That's a smaller sailfin, a Red Sea sailfin. I've always loved both of those fish, and obviously, like most reefers, I'm partial to the tangs. This is a 90-gallon tank, and obviously they recommend that they have more space if you have some tangs, at least a 6-foot tank, and this was a 4-foot tank. So I do have aspiration to get a larger tank. That's why I got the larger skimmer, as well as some other equipment here. So don't shoot me, tank police, we're gonna get there. Other equipment upgrades. So I got rid of my two Coralia for wave makers, with a wave maker I should say, and I picked up this Jebao, or whatever, however you pronounce it, RW15. And let me tell you, it's a RW15 wave maker. Picked it up for like $100 from the fish store. It's way better than some of those other pumps out there as far as affordability. My only complaint, which is the common complaint that's out there, is this thing pumps out some flow. My local fish store is one who recommended I get the RW15 for this 4-foot 90-gallon tank. Halfway wish I would have gotten maybe 2 RW4s and maybe 1 RW8, because this thing is literally on almost the lowest setting, and it's got some serious flow. Look at that wave action it's doing. You can see the corals, waving in there. You can see my torch all the way on the left-hand side. It's getting blown around pretty good. So that's pretty much all the equipment upgrades. I am still going back and forth between getting some either a new T5 fixture. I have a 4-bulb fixture right now, and I'm debating on moving to a 6-bulb fixture or LEDs. I'm starting to see that a lot of the people who jumped in on LEDs are now converting back to T5, saying that the corals look better, they get a better view of the tank. So I'm interested to hear what you guys all think. So let's take a look real quick at the corals. So again, here's my torch coral. He's doing all right. He was bigger earlier today. I'm sorry about the focus there. He was bigger earlier today, but not sure exactly what his deal is. I'm trying to get a better light here. That's the other thing with T5s. I noticed it's hard to record a video with an iPhone. This is a Scoly that I picked up. Actually, I traded for. Scoly He's pretty cool. Red. Doesn't really do too much except for look cool. I have my, I had a hammer in my last video. That thing recently, like literally a day or two ago, just kind of disintegrated. So I'm hoping I'm not having an issue or something in my tank as far as euphyllias. This guy, frog spawn, he's not too happy right now. I mean, I have him in a high flow area, so I'm sure he's not happy about that. He's getting blown around pretty good. But he was originally over here on these live rocks that I have here. And you can see that there's looks like some cyano coming on these live rocks. Actually, they're not live rock. They were bare, completely white base rock that I pick up from the LFS. And I don't know, that's another question I guess for YouTube is, do you ever put any bare rock in your tank? My LFS guy, I've taken a lot of advice from him. He said that I can throw these rocks in there because I needed to build up my tank, and they're much cheaper than buying live rock, and he didn't have really a large selection of live rock anyways. But I'm starting getting some cyano on there, but I had, if you see that real white section next to the cyano over here, that's where I had my frog spawn, and he started not being very happy. So I took him off there, put him on the sand bed. Hopefully he's chilling out. I'm guessing that cyanobacteria and maybe the process of this base rock becoming live rock and cycling, I guess is what it's doing, irritated that coral. So I'm gonna actually move him into a lower flow area. Hopefully he gets a little happier. Hopefully I don't lose him. My red Monty that was over here on this rock, it broke up, and so I have a piece there. I have another piece over here on top of this live rock. So those, I mean, I've never had any problems growing Monty. I'm trying to grow my green Monty back pretty good. Made a trade with a local reefer, and he gave me this frag of his Birdsnest. That's coming up pretty good. I picked this neon green toadstool up. I've always wanted one of these, so I'm so happy to have it. It's actually doubled in size since I picked it up. I picked it up for 10 bucks from somebody at my LFS, so that was pretty cool. Got a little orange Digi frags over here that I'm starting to grow out. I'll be excited when those come up. And really, and the elegance coral right here is doing great, man. This guy is blowing up. He's happy. He looks great. The big exciting thing about my tank for me, Flame Angel. I did pick up a Flame Angel as well. Oh, also I did get 2 Engineer Gobies. So I have a lot of livestock in my tank, as you can tell, which is why I picked up the overrated skimmer to hopefully help with this, and the ChemiPure and a bunch of other stuff just to help with the filtration. But those Engineer Gobies, they burrow, man. They don't lie when they say that they really engineer. They make their own out of the tank. They're not really out. They're still small. I picked up 2 of them. I'd say it's better that they're in pairs. I've seen them when they're fully grown, and they're awesome additions to the tank because they look like eels, but they're not. So I'm excited for when they get a little larger. Hopefully they don't tumble my aquascape here. I'll have to work on that. But like I said, the big exciting thing for me is this rose bubble tip anemone. I acquired this in my trade as well. My trade was this. Over here on the left-hand side, you can see all those mushrooms that I had. I had 2 very large rocks covered in those mushrooms. So I sold one of them off to the LFS, and that's how I got some of these soft corals. And then the other one I traded with a guy I met at the LFS, and he gave me the Scoly, he gave me the Birdsnest, he gave me the orange Digi, and I gave him some cash for one of his 4 red bubble tip, or rose bubble tip anemones, and this is the one that I picked up here. And this thing is awesomely happy. I've had him for like almost a month right now. For the first couple of weeks, I was a little frustrated because my clowns didn't host. I had a green bubble tip in the past and they didn't host, but my tank wasn't the best parameters back then either, and the green bubble tip didn't make it. My tank has great parameters now, 0 nitrates, almost 0 phosphates, and this rose bubble is so happy right now. Now the clowns aren't in there in the hosting, but I came home one night, I actually did the pictures on the tank of clowns and anemones. Had them up there for like a week or 2. I thought it wasn't working. And then one day, actually when the tank broke down and there was no water flow because I had to lower the water level, they, I guess, weren't intimidated because the rose bubble wasn't moving around. And so that's when they started nibbling at it and playing with it, and then realized that, hey, this is okay that I can come in here. So they're not hosting right now, but a trick that I figured out is when I start to clean with my magnet, they get upset and then they go to protect their anemone. So there they go. They're hosting. That was one of the coolest things in the hobby. Everybody talks about it. I've had a tank for 4 years. I've never experienced it until the last couple of weeks. See, I'm scaring them by cleaning this glass and they jump right in. One of the coolest experiences as an aquarist I've ever had. Awesome. I will be getting another anemone from the same gentleman who I picked that one up from. He has some starburst. I believe that's what they're called, starburst anemones, where they're starburst bubble tips, where they are red and green and orange and all the kinds of colors. And I'll try to put them right next to this anemone, this rose bubble, and see if they hang out and they're friends. But that was a very fast update, even though it took 15 minutes on my tank. So I'm sure you guys will have questions. I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to be remotivated into the hobby. I'm happy with my new additions. I don't know if I finished the story about that nasotang, but he didn't make it. I picked up a very small nasotang, and when I added him into my tank, he wasn't eating, and I was hoping he would eat. And then one day I just came home and he was stuck against my overflow. Maybe that was the fish gods telling me I shouldn't have 4 tangs in the tank. So that was a sad day, but I'm not going to be adding any more fish to the system. I'm leaving it where it's at. I'm very happy. The only thing I'll be focused on right now is rock work, perhaps adding some more live rock, some new aquascaping, some new corals. This is really just the foundation. I'm selling that big orange Monty on the top of this rock right here back to the LFS. That big guy right there, just so I can clear that space up, and I'm going to start getting into SPSs a little bit more. Started with that Birdsnest, it's taken off, it's doing great. The Digi's doing great. So I'm hoping that I have some good results on that shelf right there with some new SPS. As always, Tranquil Warfare, so excited to be back in the hobby. So excited to be able to experience clowns hosting in my own anemone. Really just happy to be back. So write your comments, questions, and I'll post a new video as soon as really the tank calls for it. Hope everyone's doing great and having fun with your reefs. Tranquil Warfare out.